So now from Ecuador, I would like to call here on stage Siron Majarian from Art Hotels, a group of 3 small properties and very inspiring boutique hotels in Cuenca, Quito, and Otavalo. Hi, Siron, are you there?
Hi, Roberto, yes.
Okay, so welcome. The microphone is yours. Have a good presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, let's make it big. Okay, does this part show or no? I don't know. Okay, nice to meet you all. My name is Siron Majarian, and I am the experience manager for a small boutique hotel company called Art Hotels Ecuador. We're a relatively young company. We started with historic restorations of our first property in 2015. And as Roberto mentioned, we already have 3 properties open, which is Hotel Mama Cuchara in Quito, Hotel Otavalo in the city of Otavalo, which is about an hour and a half north of Quito, and Hotel Cruz del Vado in Cuenca. We also have property in the city of Guayaquil, which we will be developing, and we're looking forward to having a project in the Galapagos Islands sometime as well in the near future. Our idea really is to sell a circuit within the country of Ecuador. So for example, between Quito and Otavalo is very close, and you can do a lot of things between those 2 cities. And also it's the same with Cuenca and Guayaquil. Or of course, if your guests want to do the whole country, then the idea is that we can offer them boutique luxury accommodations around the whole country, which is part of our concept because we realize that there is no Ecuadorian brand of hotels. There isn't even really a global brand of hotels that is in all of the major cities within Ecuador. So a little bit about our company. It's a family-owned company. And so it's really kind of a passion project for the founder of this company. And the name is Art Hotels Ecuador because basically our founder is an avid art collector. So today, instead of presenting our hotels, our rooms, and all those types of things, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our values and how we actually live those values in terms of what we do in the communities where our hotels are. So here you can see our values. First of all, we have art and history. As I mentioned, our founder is an avid art collector, a very proud Ecuadorian person who values their Ecuadorian roots and is very faithful to the history and the culture of Ecuador. There's also design and function, which is very important as we are a luxury property. So everything has to be, at very high levels, but also even though it's aesthetically pleasing, it also has to be functional. We have consistency, which is very important in terms of offering a 5-star service, and collaboration. The collaboration is how we see working together with the communities, and these are some of the points that I'm going to be focusing on today. We say our greatest assets are our people, so the associates that work for us, our vendors, obviously our clients and our guests. In this industry, everything is people focused, so that is one of our core values as well. And of course, security. So of these 6 today, I kind of want to focus on these 3 values and how as a company, we really work together within our communities, with the people in our communities, to highlight the art and history and culture of Ecuador, and how this differentiates us really as a brand within the country. So first and foremost, each of our buildings is actually a historic property. So they have been rescued and renovated. Our first property in Quito was Hotel Mama Cuchara. Here you can see the state of the building when we acquired it. This piece of property was actually acquired in 1992, and it took a long time in order to be able to decide what we were going to do with the property, if it was going to be a restaurant or a museum, and then eventually the idea of starting a boutique hotel company came up, and that's why I mentioned in the beginning that we started the restoration process in 2015. So as you can see, it was in shambles, the building, from the outside and the inside. But one of the restrictions that we had is that it's a UNESCO patrimonial building. So as you can see in the after picture, it's completely restored to its former glory, but without changing actually anything about the frontal facade. So all of the windows, all of the balconies, everything has been maintained, just really upgraded. We hired masonry people to recreate the little faces that were in each of these arcs. So it came out beautifully. The same thing in Otavalo. Otavalo is not a UNESCO heritage site, but this building was actually the first hotel in the city of Otavalo, built over 100 years ago. And this is the way that it was when we had acquired it. So Otavalo, again, is a very indigenous city. And a lot of the buildings are very colorful. You have the bright oranges and greens. And so that's where you get the color of this building, which in fact our designers did not like. And in the process of, they just were gonna change the color of the paint, but in the process of kind of peeling the building, below it, they found this beautiful brick and stone masonry work. So instead of repainting it, we decided to leave all of this masonry work exposed so that everyone could appreciate the types of construction methods that were used even 100 years ago. Some of these pieces of stone here at the bottom are volcanic stone that are no longer even used because they're just like these really big blocks. And you can see this masonry work throughout the building. So it's not only on the outside facade, it's all the way inside, in all of the private rooms, in the restaurant. It's very beautiful. It gives the feeling of a castle within the city of Otavalo. And then we have the hotel in Cuenca, Hotel Cruz del Vado. Cruz del Vado is one of the most emblematic sites in the historic downtown of Cuenca, which is also a UNESCO heritage site. So, oops, just trying to get rid of this. Okay. So here you can see that the facade is actually a pink marble facade. Here you can't really tell so much that there was like a big before and after difference. But in fact, there really was this building behind the marble facade was basically crumbling. So we had to restructure the entire building and create the hotel that we have now. So obviously one of the main features is this pink marble facade, which is only found on this building and in the Cathedral of Cuenca, which you can actually kind of see back here. We have magnificent views from both sides. So you have a rooftop bar here on the top, and that's where our restaurant is. So you have views of the back side of the city and the front side of the city here in Cuenca. So this speaks really to our value of art and history, and as well collaboration, because it's very important for us to, of each of us, also have, for example, a plaque dedicated to, we hired a historian to look into the history of each of these buildings. And we tell the story, for example, that in Hotel Mama Cuchara is where the assassination of President Garcia Morena was planned and conceived. That's something that makes us uniquely different. In Hotel Otavalo, as well, on the backside of the hotel, this was one of the only buildings that survived one of the strongest earthquakes here in Ecuador at that time. And there was a cliff, a quebrada, behind Hotel Otavalo, which has now been filled in. And it's a symbol of kind of the resilience of the Otavalo people being able to recover from that earthquake. And of course, in Cuenca, as I mentioned, this pink marble facade is one of the only ones within the city of Cuenca. Cruz del Vado is one of the most historic sites. We face the Tomebamba River, which is one of the 4 rivers that crosses Cuenca. So as I mentioned, it's very important for us to always tell the history and keep this type of history alive. In all of our properties as well, we like to bring in the sense of artwork and culture. So you have sculptures, paintings, all different types of art within the public spaces and the private spaces. So we focus again on working with the local communities. In some of our hotels, we have very valuable pieces from Guayasamín and Kingman, which are 2 of the most famous Ecuadorian artists. But also we feature pieces from little known Ecuadorian artists. For example, here you have Franklin Mora. He is a local Otavaleñan, and this is in our property in Otavalo, and these are his works. These works are actually done in pencil, but they're so, he's a hyper-realist, so they're so real, they actually look like photographs. And so Franklin says that he's always inspired by the people, the faces that he sees every day in Otavalo. If he didn't have the Otavaleñan people, then he wouldn't have his inspiration. So it's very important for us to continue to support Ecuadorian art and give these people a place for them to exhibit their work on a global level. And as we attract international tourists, that these people have a global market that can appreciate their work. Again, in Cuenca, this is Marco Machado. He works with copper. He's one of the only people that weaves copper and makes small figurines as well out of copper. So here you can see a whole vine of leaves and hummingbirds that he has made and colored out of copper metal, but also this hat. This hat is a Panama hat, but it's actually woven out of metal. So he's a very rare type of artist, his art, and it's important for us to be able to give them a platform, of course, as I mentioned. Another thing I wanted to point out here in Cuenca are these walls. So these walls are made with a construction method called bareque, which you can see here in the background. We've actually left testigos or witnesses of bareque, which is an ancient form of construction that uses hay, straw, different layers of stone and mud in order to create a very sustainable building material that helps us to maintain the climate in the hotel without actually using heating or air conditioning systems. So those are a few examples of how we feature artists within our hotels. But the other important aspect of our value of collaboration is working with the communities where we are. So the idea that when we open a luxury property in a community is that both the neighborhood as well as our company is going to benefit from the exposure that they're going to get to the international tourists. So in each hotel and each property, we have developed a program of activities. Each one has its own particular name. For example, in Mama Cuchara, it's called La Loma de los Encantos, because Mama Cuchara is located on what is known as La Loma Grande, or the Big Hill. So La Loma de los Encantos is the Enchanted Hill. And within our community, you can find these types of artisans. For example, Alberto. You have Alberto, he's a mask maker, and he works with paper mache to create these beautiful traditional Quiteñan masks that you see in the background. And this is a passion of his, it's a hobby of his. So it's not necessarily his breadwinning job, but it's something that is really important to him. And it's something that we feel is wonderful that we can support. He's so passionate about it that when he actually puts on the masks, he becomes the creature that he has created. He says that his inspirations, he dreams about the masks, and that's where he gets his inspirations for each of these masks. And that once, for example, once a mask has been worn, then that the soul of that mask has been created, and it belongs to the person who put on that mask. It's a beautiful sentiment. And for example, I have a mask, an owl mask that he has created, and I use it to play with my daughter all the time, and she loves it. So that is the soul that I've created with our owl. You also have, for example, La Beata. La Beata is currently a coffee shop, but it's in a location that for 6 generations ago was one of the first marble workers in the historic center of Quito. So when you go in, you actually have a lot of the history, the tools that were used previously 6 generations ago, and a few as well of the works made in marble within this gallery. So currently, this current generation, they no longer work with marble, but they do these artesanías. So they make these dolls or different types of embroidery, and it's a wonderful place to just sit down and have a coffee and be surrounded by the traditions of Quito. Also, in Mama Cuchara, we're very close to the Santo Domingo Church. So if you look out from our hotel, right across from, right down the street is the Church of Santo Domingo. And we have a great relationship with the parroquia there. And they have one of the largest religious libraries in all of South America, actually housing one of the oldest Bibles brought to South America, which is what you can see in this photo here. So these are the types of activities and cultural gems, really, that we try to provide for our guests, so that when they come to Ecuador, it's not just about the Galapagos, it's also about the mainland and all the things that they can do there. As I mentioned, we have this in all of our properties. So in Otavalo, it's a little bit different. Otavalo, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the largest indigenous communities in all of Ecuador. It's known famously for the Mercado de los Ponchos, which is, again, one of the largest, or the largest market of indigenous art, artesanías in all of South America. But we really wanted to go beyond just the market and give people the experience of meeting the local people, learning about the Quechua cosmovision. Quechua is the major indigenous tribe there. And so, for example, you have here the telares, right? So here you have Diego. He is sitting on a 15th century Spanish loom and actually making the bracelets and the fajas and that are sold in the market. So the idea is that before you just go to the market and start haggling for some of the pieces that are on sale there, you actually can see all of the work that goes into it behind the scenes. And the idea is here in these activities that you are actually doing these things hands-on as well. So you can actually sit on this 15th century loom, and they've created cheat sheets with all the different patterns that you can create. And so you do sit down and make your own bracelet, and it will come out horribly because you just don't have the practice and the expertise that these people have created after generations and generations of doing this. You also have, for example, Ali Lema. Ali Lema is only 26 years old, but it's his mission to preserve the making and playing of Andean wind instruments. Here he's playing a harp, but it's because he's very passionate about all of the different Andean instruments. And he's actually one of the only people that can play all three of the South American harps. We also have Claudia. Claudia has a small company called Kausaimi, and she focuses on ancestral cooking. So she will actually welcome you into her home, take you on a tour of her garden, and help you kind of pick out a few things that are used in order to create actually the meal that you're going to eat. She will teach you the ancient ways of cooking, for example, on a tulpa, which is a 3-stone oven, which recognizes the Andean cosmovision of the woman being the most important person of the family, represented by one of the bigger stones of the 3. And so you get this whole cultural...
Sorry to interrupt you. We already reached 20 minutes. So if you want 1 minute more, feel free.
Okay, great. So let's see. Then again, we have the same thing in Otavalo, in Cuenca. Really what I wanted to show you guys are the spaces of the people that we work with, and why they're so important to us, and how they can actually make the experience for our guests something that they will never forget. Also, for example, it was very important for us to support these people throughout the pandemic. So obviously when the pandemic hit, international travel stopped everywhere, and it was very hard on our communities. So we tried to support them in whatever way that we could. So one of the things that we did is create these kits, and we sold them locally so that these people had a type of income. And I will stop there and see if there's any questions.
We will have the networking session after the last presentation, so we can all meet there. And if anyone has question or want to talk about the presentation, this lovely presentation, we will have enough time for that. It was very interesting and different activities, and very creative and very connected to the neighborhoods and all the architecture changes. It was a great presentation. I really liked it, and Cuenca is on my wish list. So Cyron, thank you very, very much for the presentation, and we talk soon in the networking session after that. Thank you very much.